Hello everyone, my name is Mary, and today is another episode of Getting to Know the Tarot and You. I love this series because we're diving through each and every card in the tarot, learning about how it can enhance our everyday life. And today's card is a special one. It's the Chariot. So in this series, what I do is I look at the meaning of a card. I then look at the symbolism of the card. We then look at other examples of the card to see how different artists and different people interpret it, and to get to know different sides of the card. And most importantly, we get to know how it's relevant in your everyday life. And so all of those timestamps will be below, and so you can skip ahead if you want to skip to the parts that you want to see. But today's card is the Chariot, so let's dive right in. I have here the Chariot card as symbolized as drawn by Pamela Coleman Smith in conjunction with A.E. Waite. This is the Rider-Waite Smith Centennial deck that we're looking at this time. But before we look at the symbolism, I want to just look at a little bit about the meaning. So the meaning of the card is basically summarized with the words harnessing, will, motivation, and drive. So this card is all about moving you forward in your life. It's about overcoming obstacles and limitations. It's about dealing with outside influences while always staying focused on your goal and where you want to get to in your life. My favorite keyword for this card is harnessing, because in the Chariot, what he's doing here is harnessing energies. He's not just harnessing the energies he wants to use. He's harnessing basically every energy that he can use. He, as we will see, the card holds a lot of symbolism. So he's using everything he can get his hands on to move himself forward. And so the Chariot is about drive, getting things done, moving forward, and overcoming obstacles. So now let's look at the symbolism, which is a really big task when it comes to the Chariot, because in this particular deck, the Chariot is just silly with symbols. It's just filled with them. So let's start with looking at the first two, the most obvious ones, the sphinxes. So we have two sphinxes in front of the Chariot, a black one and a white one, and they symbolize the power that pulls the Chariot forward. And the Sphinx is known as being a symbol of protection, intelligence, and they were also seen as divine guardians. And so you have the power of intelligence, divine guidance, protection. You're moving forward through a very powerful means. The Sphinxes are not ordinary animals. They are mythical. They're supernatural. The charioteer has harnessed of extraordinary power to move his chariot forward. The colors are also important, and I think they're even more important than the animal itself, because the colors, the black and white colors, represent yin-yang. They represent duality. They represent the polarized energies of the world. So you have failures and successes. You have night and day. You have all the polarized energies of the world symbolized in these two animals. Another symbol I want to point out is the symbol on the front of the Chariot. So this whole thing, there's a couple of symbols going on here, but let's start with this red one. This red symbol here symbolizes, and this is not something I'm familiar with, I had to look it up, it's called the lingam and yoni, and I could be saying that wrong. It symbolizes the phallus and the womb, which basically symbolizes non-duality. So this is the coming together of two opposing energies. or complementary energies. It symbolizes the creative force that that comes into being when the yin and the yang get together, when they are united. There is an integrated creative force that is symbolized by this symbol right here. And it also symbolizes the awakened state. The awakened state is a state of unified, expanded consciousness, and that is exactly what this symbolizes. Another symbol on the front of the chariot is the winged sun. And the winged sun is an ancient symbol representing power and divinity. So what we have here is that the charioteer is moving forward by divine power, that he is sort of blessed in a way to be moving forward in his path, that it's not just earthly power that he wields, but sort of divine power or a higher power as well. It also represents ascension. So it's not that he's just moving forward in a linear way. He's sort of using this integrated creative force, and he's using the polarized forces of the world not only to move him forward, but forward and up. He's ascending. He's able to gain more enlightenment and knowledge and experience, higher vibratory experiences. So he's able to get to new heights based on his path to move forward, based on his plan and his goals. The next one that I want to point out is the quadrangle on the chest. So he has this square on the chest, which symbolizes the earthly plane. So we have some symbols here that represent divinity, higher power. You'll see more that have that sort of higher power sort of meaning. But the square symbolizes good old-fashioned third-dimensional reality. So this is the earthly plane. This is groundedness. He's grounded in the earth, and he starts his ascent. He starts his plans with what is happening all around him in the physical plane of existence. The next one that I want to point out is the two crowns. He has two crowns. One is a laurel crown, and the other one is a golden crown. The laurel wreath symbolizes earthly victory, whereas the golden crown symbolizes spiritual victory. And so he's ready to conquer not only the physical plane, but the energetic plane, the quantum plane, the spiritual plane of existence. And the 8-pointed star that is at the top of the golden crown symbolizes independence and personal freedom. So his spiritual authority is characterized by freedom, by the freedom to choose his highest possible goal and place that in front of him as the carrot that is driving him forward, really. The next symbol I want to point out is his scepter. So he has in his hand the scepter, which indicates power. It also, I think, in this context, symbolizes control and authority, that he is the authority figure. He is the one who is moving things forward. He is the one who decides the direction that the chariot goes in, and he decides how it's going to happen. Now, the good thing to remember for the scepter is that we all have a scepter in our hands. We all have this symbol of power in our hands moving us forward. The next symbol I want to talk about is an interesting one. When I see this card, basically the symbol is the crescent moon and the face inside each crescent moon on his shoulders. Now, the face inside the crescent moon, which I can try to show you a little bit closer. Do you see that there's faces inside those crescent moons? That is a special symbol which I had to look up. I didn't know the meaning of it. To me, the crescent moons themselves symbolize intuition. So they symbolize that he's not just going on knowledge, he's going on intuition as well. But the faces are meant to symbolize Urim and Thummim. And I'm sure I butchered those names. I'm sorry if I pronounced them incorrectly. But they are a biblical reference indicating the elements worn on the breastplate of the high priest, used as an oracle, and their names mean lights and perfection. And so these crescent moon and the faces inside them on his shoulders symbolize the fact that he has divine guidance, that he's using not just his street smarts to move him forward and to make his decisions, but he's downloading information from the divine to help him decide on his path, to help him decide on how he's going to move forward. Another symbol in the card, truly, there are almost too many symbols, is the costume that he's wearing. This part of it has like these sort of very small symbols in here, and I'm not even sure what they are. I think there might be some Hebrew letters, there might be some alchemical symbols, but to me this is all symbolic of knowledge. All the earthly knowledge, every spiritual tradition, every branch of science, every branch of physics or metaphysics, every branch of every sort of knowledge, he has access to it all. So not only does he have access to the spiritual and the heavenly planes, he has access to all the earthly knowledge as well. And so the question is, how well are you utilizing all the knowledge that is available to you to move you forward? He's utilizing every single bit of the knowledge he can get access to. Another symbol on the card, and this is the last one I'm going to point out, is the curtain. The curtain above him is covered in stars, which symbolizes his connection to the celestial realm. So he has a connection to the stars, to the heavenly bodies. It symbolizes the fact that what he's doing as a charioteer has connection to the higher, to the whole universe, that he's connected to everything, and that what he's doing is important. And I want to just emphasize that what you're doing is also important in your life. No matter where you're taking your chariot, it will have an effect on the universe, on everyone in the world. It's going to be important. So a little bit more on the more expanded meaning of the card. Now that we've looked at the symbols, the chariot is all about forward motion, like I said. But the charioteer himself is the architect of his life. He's deciding where he gets to go, but it's not his lower vibrational impulses that are moving him forward. It's divine guidance coupled with his earthly knowledge and his earthly experiences. These two things together are moving him forward. The idea of harnessing is very important in this card, to the meaning, because the charioteer is harnessing polarized energies. He's harnessing both the good and the bad. He's harnessing the black sphinx and the white one. He's harnessing all of the energies available to him in service of a single direction, which is very important. He's harnessing both his failures and his successes. He's harnessing day and night. He's harnessing times of rest and times of activity. He's harnessing everything in the service of a single direction. Everything serves his forward momentum, and he uses divine guidance to help him decide on the direction he's going to go. So he's not just like, hey, I want to go over there. He really has made up a very serious, important plan, a plan that he's passionate about, a plan that means a lot to him. And that's the plan, that's the map that he's using to plot out his life path. So he's using divine guidance to decide his direction. So the next thing I want to look at are some other examples of the chariot. So let's take a look right here at 6 chariot cards that I took a look at. I scoured the internet as far as I could. Not every deck, every chariot card out there is available on Pinterest or just on Google. But these are the ones that I found that each one of them sort of conveys something different. They're all really different, but they all convey some sort of aspect of the chariot that I really wanted to bring out to you guys. So let's start with the first one on the upper left. This tarot deck is either out of print or just not available. I could not find it. I would like to have it. I love this card. I don't even know how to say the name. It's called Jaen Tarot. I don't know how to say it. It's Jaen Tarot by the South Korean artist Ahnjen. Ahnjen. Again, I may be pronouncing that wrong. But it's a gorgeous deck, and I love this card. First off, we have to notice that the charioteer is using flying fish. So she is using a sort of a magical creature, but not a usual one, a very unusual sort of magical creature, sort of a miraculous creature. This miraculous, magical, supernatural power is what she's using to move herself forward, these flying fish. And also another symbol that we have that I gotta point out that I really love is the red hair. So she's got this beautiful red hair that is just flowing out behind her. And this symbolizes that she has a passion, that she's moving forward based on what she loves and what she's passionate about. But the most important thing about this card, in my opinion, is the fact that she and the flying fish are all very peaceful. They have their eyes closed. They don't even have to look where they're going because they're all sort of on the same wavelength. She's using sort of a supernatural Zen-like state to harness the power of these fish. They're all just sort of on the same wavelength moving forward. And it's very peaceful, and it's very effortless, and it's completely magical. And I absolutely love this Chariot card because it really, really drives home the point that sometimes when you're on that wavelength and you're really tuned in and you're harmonizing with everything around you, it all just falls into place. It all just falls into place for you. Everything becomes a blessing. Everything becomes something that can propel you forward in an easy, harmonious, peaceful way. So the second card is to the right of that one is from the Oak, Ash, and Thorn deck, which is one of my favorites. And this Chariot card shows a snail sitting on the head of a pigeon. And this, to me, symbolizes the keyword harnessing, which is my keyword for this card, harnessing. So the snail has harnessed the power of the pigeon, and it appears as though the pigeon is willingly allowing this. They are friends. And so the snail is harnessing the power of the pigeon to be able to go farther than he could go by himself. And so the snail can't fly, obviously, but with the pigeon's power, underneath him, he can go to, he can fly all over the place. He can go much farther and higher than he could possibly go by himself. The next one, the third chariot to the right of that one, is very different from the first one. So in the first one, we see a very peaceful charioteer and very peaceful two animals driving her forward. Whereas in this other chariot, the third chariot, it's not so peaceful. We see dust coming up. The two horses look like they're going in an opposite direction. The charioteer looks like he's using a great deal of strength and restraint to keep those horses where he wants them to go. And even though these two cards, the first one and the third one, are so different, I think they're both so important. Like if we had background music, like if these cards were part of a movie, like the background music of the first one would be something very peaceful and Zen-like. and meditative, whereas the music to the third Chariot card would be like from a superhero movie, or, you know, a fantasy film, or some sort of like battle film, you know, where he's really conquering the elements. So in this one, the third one, it's from the Mythic Tarot. And what this charioteer is showing us, what I loved about this card, is that he's showing us that it takes restraint, it takes strength, it takes that he is the authority. He has to constantly be exercising strength, vigilance, and restraint. That he is constantly vigilant over the direction he wants to go. And he understands that the horses by themselves would want to go in opposite directions, which is very, very true. Sometimes our inner feelings, you know, if you really just rely on your feelings to tell you where you want to go, when you're feeling tired and sort of down, you want to do nothing. When you're feeling, you know, motivated and energized and, you know, all pepped up, then you want to do something and get things done. But both of those energies can serve the same ultimate purpose. They don't have to war with one another. You can utilize them both to move you forward in a single direction. So even though these horses want to go in opposite directions, they're polarized energies. He's using constant vigilance to keep them moving him forward in the direction he wants to go. So I think that's so important and so wonderful to remember. And what I love most is the little details. So that the fact that there's the dust coming up, but also his arms. It looks very much like he's using strength and restraint to keep these horses. And it might look like one of them is more powerful than the other, and he's got to be constantly sort of keeping an eye on them both. You know, I just love that, how that shows us a different aspect of the Chariot. But let's move on to the second row of Chariot cards, and the first one on the left of the second row is from the Starchild Tarot, and this one has no charioteer. There's one energy, and it is the energy of forward motion. It's the energy of forward motion, sort of depicted by this beautiful unicorn running around the landscape, and there's a celestial body in the sky, which could be the moon or could be the sun. I love that we don't really know here which one it is. It's up to your interpretation. But first of all, what I love that this symbolizes is the power, the divine power that's available to us, this magical divine power that is here in the world, available to you to harness and to utilize to move you forward. It's not ordinary, everyday work that gets you going, that gets you where you want to go. Sometimes there's more than that. So there is divine synchronicities. There's all of this quantum, you know, synchronicities and there's all these beautiful energies available to us. And this beautiful unicorn symbolizes, you know, the spectrum of power, divine power that's available to us. And sort of like we are the charioteer here. Another thing that this card symbolizes is freedom. That this unicorn is absolutely free to go wherever she wants to go. And so this sort of conveys the idea that you don't have to go in the direction that your parents want you to go, or your society wants you to go, or that your fears want you to go. You have this inner freedom to take yourself wherever you want to go, to decide for yourself, you know, to be guided by divinity, by your higher self, by God, and to choose the highest and best possible goal for yourself, the one that lights you up the most, the one that is the most magical. So there's a beautiful freedom depicted here, the freedom to go in your chosen direction. The next one is the Mystic Monday Tarot. And this tarot, this chariot is all about fun. And I love that we have a symbol here that is similar to the Rider-Waite Smith. It is the Sphinx, which symbolizes intelligence, divine protection, and guidance. And so we have this beautiful sort of Sphinx, but it's looks like it's a roller coaster car. You know, it looks like this fun ride that she's on. And it's sort of sailing over the hills. So she's overcoming her obstacles by utilizing this force. And as she's doing it, she's having fun. She's having a good time on this Sphinx roller coaster ride. She's got her arms up and she's having a good time. Not every one of the charioteers, none of them really, sort of, I think, picture the same amount of joy that this one does. But it's important to remember that, you know, our passions and our joy and our, you know, the passion and love in your heart is what's driving you forward. And she's having fun as she's doing this. The last Chariot card is from the Labyrinth Tarot. And Labyrinth is we're referring to the Labyrinth movie from the 80s with Jennifer Connelly, I think, and David Bowie. It's a cult classic. If you haven't seen it, you're probably not an 80s child. But I love this one because if you've seen the movie and you know the character that this is, then it means a lot. So this character is Sir Didymus, and he is riding astride his trusty steed Ambrosius. And if you know the character of Sir Didymus, he is this small, sort of scrawny looking guy, but he's like got the mentality of a giant. Like he thinks he's the fiercest warrior that's ever existed, and he thinks that he's just so scary and, you know, that he can conquer anything. And that is what I see when I look at this card, is I see confidence. I see that he thinks he's 10 feet tall, even though he's like 2 feet tall. He believes in his mind that he's already conquered, you know, every foe and overcome every obstacle. And so in this chariot, I see his overwhelming confidence in himself, which I think all of the other chariots need to have. Like every card needs to show that you need confidence to move forward. You need to believe in yourself and your path and your abilities. You need to trust the universe. You need to trust God and trust your higher guidance. And nothing is more, no card brings it home more than this one, is that he's got this just, you know, this crazy confidence in himself to move him forward. He's already won. He's already a victor. He's already conquered everything in his mind. So the last part of the video is, how is the chariot energy relevant to your everyday real life? How can you incorporate chariot energy in your life? And there are 3 ways that I have outlined that we can do this. The first way is to ask yourself, do you have a clear direction, purpose, or mission statement for your life, for your year, for your month, for your week, for your day, for your minute? Do you have a clear direction? Because you don't have to have the same direction year to year. You don't have to have, you know, you can have a grander mission statement for your life, but every minute through the day, you might be, you know, serving that mission statement in a different way, but you still have to understand and keep your eye on the ball. You've got to keep your eye on this direction that you're headed in. So any minute that you sort of lose sight of what you're doing and what the purpose is for your existence, every minute that you lose that sort of direction is a minute that that you could just sort of wander and lose your way or get thrown off. It's not like you purposely have to keep the tape running in your head of what your mission statement is, but the chariot is very important because in order to get anywhere, every one of these charioteers that you see on your screen, they all have to have some idea of where they're going. And they have to have, you know, they have to keep that in their heart and in their mind pretty much always. So the first way to incorporate chariot energy into your life is to remember, ask yourself, do you have a clear direction? Do you remember what your purpose is, what your direction is, what you want to accomplish in this moment, this day, this week, this lifetime? Do you remember, or have you forgotten? Or are you not really paying attention to your purpose at all? Keep it in the background, keep it on like the radio, just quietly in the background. Just keep that direction, your purpose, your mission statement. Just keep it at your fingertips. The second way that we can incorporate chariot energy into our everyday life is by asking ourselves, are we letting the world and its polarizing energies pull us this way or that way? Or are we driving the chariot? So are you letting the world push you around, or are you driving the chariot? Who's driving your chariot? Are your fears driving your chariot? Is the the community and their expectations of you driving your chariot? Who's driving the chariot? Who's actually got their hands on the reins? Just like that third chariot card, who's actually pulling the chariot forward? Who's deciding on the direction that the chariot is going? Is it your fears? Is it your highest ideas for yourself? Is it your, other people's expectations of you? Who's driving the chariot? Because a lot of times the world can push you off your path. The world can feel very scary, and it can feel very, very difficult. And yes, you might have to take the long way around certain obstacles, but who's driving the chariot? Who's making those decisions? And the third way that we can incorporate chariot energy into our lives, so how the chariot is relevant to your life, is by asking yourself, how are you utilizing all of your energies, all of your experiences, all of your feelings, strengths, and weaknesses to move you forward? And not only how are you using everything to move you forward, are you using everything to move you forward? Because every feeling can move you forward. Your failures, all those times that you have failed and you didn't get the goal, you didn't get what you wanted, or every day you spent depressed or lonely or afraid or angry, all of that can move you forward just as much as your joyful experiences can, your victories, your successes, the times where you're like, yes, I did it. Everything can move you forward. Even other people's successes and failures can move you forward. It's like if you made a list of the pros and cons of you, like everything that is like a drawback to you and everything that's your something that you would consider a strength, like what would those lists look like? The Chariot card wants you to put everything in the plus column, in the strength column, that even that your weaknesses are a strength because you can learn from them, because you can harness them. Basically, you can learn from everything, you can gain from everything, and that's what the Chariot card is all about. It's about harmonizing with all of the feelings, with all of your experiences, with everything that you see in the world, and not pushing certain things away as experiences or feelings that you don't want, because they can all, just like the dark horse and the light horse, these polarizing energies, even though they themselves don't harmonize with each other, you're the third element. You're the harmonizing force. You're the authority that moves, that decides that everything's going to move you forward. All right. So that is my discussion on the Chariot. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was a fun experience for you. It certainly was for me. And I always end every video with a prayer. So I'm going to, my prayer for you, for me, and for all of us is that we have the courage to utilize every part of our lives to move us forward. And that our forward motion is harmonious and divinely guided. Amen, amen, amen. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.